It's the most wonderful time of the year. We are back. Magical Monday. It's Christmas time, baby. I'm fired up. I'm recording this while the Packers-Saints game is going on. Green Bay should win that game big. That was one of my against the spread picks, blazing 3. Green Bay at 14. They should. Just Saints are having a shitty year. But I wanted to get into this. Hope you guys are doing well today. Happy holidays to everybody. Shout out to my Chicago family. I'm going to be seeing you guys tomorrow. A lot of yee. Matt Schiffler and all you guys. So, I want to touch on a couple games today. The big one last night, Tampa Bay, Dallas. I'm going to give you guys my reaction to that. And also the things I saw around the league, Vikings and Seattle, Minnesota yesterday. How happy I am for Sam Darnold. I'll get into that. And the Panthers, Cardinals, which shouldn't have been a great game, but it was, came down to the wire. And overtime, some things I wanted to talk about in Arizona kind of moving forward, what they should do at quarterback. So I wanted to start off last night. Baker Mayfield against Cooper Rush. I know it wasn't sexy. I know it wasn't great last night. But I got to tell you something, man. I got to ask Tampa, what the hell was that? I mean, down 10-0? In Dallas? Like, they've struggled all year. But give Dallas credit. They've been playing better defense lately. Got Micah back. You know, they got some pieces back. They were kind of banged up early in the year. Give that staff credit. But with Tampa, they're still going to make the playoffs, in my opinion. Okay? That was an ugly loss last night. You couldn't afford to do it because Atlanta, you're still kind of neck and neck with them. The 2 remaining games they got, Atlanta, we'll see what happens. A little bit too late. Too little too late with Atlanta going to Michael Penix this late when Kirk Cousins, you just saw how bad he was. Should have played him earlier. But that's Atlanta's problem, not Tampa Bay's. But the one thing I noticed last night when I'm watching that game is Tampa Bay's still a really good football team. I'm not taking anything away from what Dallas did last night. But Tampa Bay that defense was gas last night. I mean, I'm watching it and I'm going, what the hell? I mean, they were on the field, it felt like the whole game. CeeDee Lamb was going off. That's the one thing with this Buck defense. They're very blitz happy. You could sometimes pick on their corners and stuff and get some big plays and chunks out of that. And obviously they did to CeeDee Lamb last night. And CeeDee Lamb's one of the better ones in football. Him and Justin Jefferson coming out. That was the debate. Which one you take? They've both been studs. Okay, they're 101 last night. CeeDee Lamb's a tough motherfucker too. Playing with a banged up shoulder. I can't even imagine what he's going through. Fighting, scratching, clawing to get on that field and try and salvage whatever this lost season's been for the Cowboys. But back to Tampa. Mike Evans, to me, if he's not getting in on first ballot Hall of Famer, I'm sorry, you're drunk. That guy is so elite, so gifted. I mean, he's a tough guy too last night. Because I thought when I saw Baker rolling out and they hit him on that little crosser over the seam, I went, oh shit, he's gonna get it. But Donovan Wilson, give them Kim credit. He's a beast back there at safety for the Cowboys. Something they have not had since Darren Woodson, those guys back in the day. Roy Williams, maybe, but he was more of a hitter. He was the horse collar tackle guy. Terrell Owens got his ankle broken because of him, and the NFL had to implement that rule. So I will say this with the Buccaneers. They're going to be fine. They got to just win out and pray in God that hope that these scenarios work. But that was a devastating blow last night. Because if you won last night, you would have got some momentum and maybe finished this season strong. Because you were on a roll. I mean, you won, I think, 4 in a row or 6? I can't remember the stacked one. But I was just encouraged last night by Tampa. And they got players everywhere. And Jason Light's a GM. He's done a great job down there. He's not getting a claim and all that because Tampa Bay's kind of quiet. But he's done a nice job. And again, with Baker, I've been a fan since his days at Oklahoma. I love the fiery. I love the edginess. He reminds me of me. He's got a lot of me. I've been told he's my doppelganger. We'll see about that. But that guy's a gamer. He's tough. He's brash a little bit. He plays with this big-ass chip on his shoulder. I admire that. I love that. Prove these people wrong. Fuck them. I love that. And the other thing I got to just throw out. I'm getting really annoyed and kind of grinds my gears a little bit when these announcers keep talking about how many picks he's thrown. Good Lord, man. Here's my take on this, and I said this a couple weeks ago. Is the guy pushing the ball down the field? Is he making big plays in the pass game? Yes, and yes. Okay, picks are going to happen. I'm going to take, like Jordan Love right now is 23-11. I'm watching I saw it before I got on here. He's 23 touchdowns, 11 picks. I can live with that. That's fine. Sammy Darnold, he's going to throw some picks. But that's okay. Can you make up with them with 30 touchdowns? Yeah? Okay, I'm living with that. That's fine. I'm all for it. Aggressiveness wins. Stafford, the year he went 2011, 41-16. Yeah, sign me up for that. Brett Favre would need one of those MVPs. These gunslinger kind of quarterbacks, I'm all for. You either live and you die with it. That's fine. And Baker last night is playing the best football of his life. And I'm happy for him. He got a resurgence. He's like the warm weather Cleveland that he got. So I'm just happy for him. And I love these resurrection projects. This is not only a great story, he's playing like an elite quarterback. I mean, he is. And it's so happy to see my two guys, Sammy Darnold and Baker Mayfield, balling and just having success and having fun. And it's a shame that they got put in shitty situations early on. But I just was marveling at that last night. But Tampa Bay on their side, devastating loss last night. I mean, now you're just panking and crossing your fingers you get in the playoffs. And if you miss barely, still a hell of a year despite the injuries to Chris Godwin and Mike Evans for most of that season. So I want to flip over to Dallas. And listen, I'm a Cowboy hater, as most people know. I've been this way for a long time. And something hit me last night. And we got to start giving Mike McCarthy credit. You know, I understand he's kind of weird. And, you know, the Aaron Rodgers thing ended Green Bay weird and all that. But this guy knows what he's doing. He's a good coach. And I know that, I heard this yesterday on the broadcast, and I think this is accurate. When you coach the Cowboys, you're on a bigger microscope than anything. Because it's magnified with Jerry and his radio hits and all that shit. And I'm watching last night. He knows offense. Now, he might not be creative like Kyle Shanahan and all that, because they don't use a lot of motion and all that stuff just for football terms. But Mike McCarthy can coach. And I'm telling you, when I watch him coach, you know, listen, the penalties and all that, I get it. But lately, they've been playing their ass off. And they've been playing hard. Now, granted, they played the Giants, and I get all that. But they've been playing hard lately. Now, if you run it back, it's still a weird offseason to me with Dallas. What do you do with Dak? You got to get a run game, because they only had 23 yards last night, which I kind of understand, because Tampa Bay's really good against the run, so I get it. But you got to do something in the run game. You got to get better on the perimeter. Beef up the offensive line, because it's getting older. Zach Martin, the great player he is, he's getting old. So I just feel like with Dallas, to me, it comes back down to what do you do? You're kind of stuck with Dak. He's all right. He ain't great. And you got to deal with Jerry. Like, until they do something different, it doesn't matter. I was telling my dad this last night. Like, they're so insular. It's Al Davis near the end of the Raiders. I'm seeing it with my own eyes. They got so many family members in the fucking organization. They don't have any outside, like, fresh eyes. And you're seeing it. And listen, we know they could draft decently. I'm not disputing that. But you got to do better. Like, we keep shitting on McCarthy. The guy's won 12 games in 3 years. Back to back to back. Quattro times. Trace times. He's won 12 games. And I know they've lost in the playoffs twice at home. I get all that. But I just, you got to be patient with Mike McCarthy. Like, he's not the problem. Your owner is. Because you just said this all-in bullshit. My ass. You didn't go all in. You could have Derrick Henry trained in Dallas. And you couldn't get him? You didn't have $9 million stashed away? What are you talking about? This is drunk. So, again, Dallas is going to have an interesting offseason. Congrats to winning last night. You played spoiler and you beat Tampa. Good for you. And Cowboy fans crack me up. But, man, good for Dallas last night they won. Because they needed that win last night. And not as much as Tampa needed it more than Dallas, but it was nice to see Dallas play spoiler. So a couple other games I want to touch on. It's great having you guys in. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Hope we're doing well. I wanted to touch on two games that really caught my eye yesterday. There was a couple. The Philadelphia game, you know, Jaden Daniels is something different. He's awesome. And I might talk about him another time, but the two games that really caught my eye was Vikings and Seattle yesterday. And I'll get to that one right now. And I got Cardinals and Panthers in that one. Give me a second on that. Seattle, Minnesota to me, that felt like a playoff game. And Geno Smith's one tough motherfucker because I saw him a couple weeks ago, I believe last Sunday night. He was getting his ass beat. And he got hurt, and I'm like, shit, I don't know if Geno's playing. Minnesota might blow the doors off him. And what happened? He came out. I thought what was going to happen. And then Geno kind of got his magic going. Now, he threw two awful picks. This is what Geno does. Excuse me. But the point I'm making is Seattle's got a lot of components I really like. Mike McDonald's been an excellent hire. The transition from him, from Pete Carroll to him has been outstanding. The defense got a bunch of dudes on it. I'm not saying it's Legion of Boom level talent, but they got secondary dudes, long, lean, nasty. Their D-line's getting pressure on the quarterback. They got a lot of dudes. And, listen, Justin Jefferson's a hard matchup for anybody. He's 101, okay? Like I talked about with CeeDee Lamb, he's kind of in that tier, okay? My point is I'm watching Seattle yesterday, and I'm sitting in my head going, they're right there. And, listen, they're kind of in a weird spot. Now, they got to get offensive line right first and then go get everything else because maybe they get a quarterback. I don't know. But if I'm Seattle, I kind of kick the tires on one of these free agent guys. I don't know if they will or not, but you could do that or go draft. That's what I would do. So, Seattle's in a weird spot. That was a gut-wrenching loss yesterday. Listen, they still control their own destiny. They got to beat the Rams or whatever. It's going to get really juicy the next couple weeks. So, we'll see what happens. But I was impressed with Seattle yesterday. They fought hard. They played their ass off. Jackson Smith-Njigba has been an absolute monster. He's been a stud. Nick Deaton knows what I'm talking about. He's the biggest Ohio State fan I know. And, they got DK, when he's right, he can play. And Lockett's getting older, but he still can play. The running game's nice. Tight ends aren't bad. A lot of components in Seattle I like. You just got to get it more screwed in tight with the offensive line and get that better. Because the one thing that Geno can do that Sam Howell couldn't in that Packer game was he can move. So you got to kind of get more momentum in that in terms of offensive line. But you got to be impressed with Seattle this year. They've been playing their ass off. The transition, from Pete Carroll to Mike McDonald, boy geniuses I heard in Baltimore, and people that know, they're playing really well. So I think Seattle's going to be okay going in the offseason. They got to change some things up with the offensive line, get the same 5 guys in the combo, and get that right. But you got to be impressed with Seattle. That's a good team, really solid. Like Matt LaFleur said before that game, they're well coached, they're disciplined, they're tough. So hats off to Seattle for keeping that game close yesterday. It felt like a playoff game in that atmosphere up in Seattle yesterday. But I want to switch it over to Minnesota. You can't, if you're a Viking fan today, you can't let go of Sam Darnold. You can't. You just cannot let go of Sam Darnold. I know they draft J.J. McCarthy, and I'm pulling for him because my cousin Matt Schiffer went to Nazareth. I get all that. And I still think J.J.'s going to be your starter eventually. But if right now, in this moment, you keep Sammy Darnold. You sign him on the franchise tag. You do whatever you got to do. Because Justin Jefferson is smiling with the biggest smile on his face. He's having fun. And the Sammy is playing so well. And listen, I get he's got 2 receivers on the outside that are great. Addison, Jefferson, Hockenson. Aaron Jones, he's not what he once was, but he's not washed. You got a lot of players. And here's the thing with Sam, and I thought about this today driving home, is that there's trucks in the trailers when it comes to quarterbacks. Geno needs to have a run game and stuff like that. Sammy Darnold's been carrying this Viking team. He's winning. Now, I understand that the defense, listen, it is still pretty good. It's a pretty good roster. It's not Detroit or Green Bay, I don't think, in my opinion, but it's good enough. And we'll see how far they get in the playoffs. That's a whole different story. We got to see what happens with the seeding and all that. But you got to keep Sam Darnold because this thing is working so well with O'Connell and just the guidance he gives. And I'm watching this. And again, Flores, we'll see if he stays or not with the head coaching. And I know he's sued the NFL. A lot of drama there. But my point is with Brian Flores, that guy can coach defense. And you saw it in Miami. They're playing with their hair on fire with guys that were unheralded. Andrew Van Ginkel's awesome. Went to Wisconsin. But we didn't really know about him. I know we played Miami down there in the sun. I'm in Miami, bitch. So a lot of things I like about this Viking team. They got the offense right. Their coaching staff's excellent. I'm just happy for Sam Darnold. And they need to keep him because you got a good momentum thing going. And this isn't just a great story. We kind of got fooled with the Case Keenum thing 2017. This is different to me. And I really think Minnesota needs to think hard and long about keeping Sam Darnold because, listen, J.D. McCarthy, we don't know where he's at in his recovery because he's having 2 ankle surgeries. So I really think Minnesota's got a good thing going with this situation. Keep Sammy Darnold. Try and keep him if you can. You can't let him go out the building. So do that, Minnesota. That's my recap on that game. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, last game tonight, was Arizona in Carolina yesterday. Battle of the 2 Heisman Trophy winners, number 1 overall picks. And the contrast to me, I wouldn't say he's the Grand Canyon because Kyler's a better talent than Bryce Young, obviously with the mobility, and he's built like a tank. He's a little bit bigger. I get all that. But I want to notice something right now. Arizona, you got a decision to make. And so think about this today. Because Kyler, the last 3 games or so that I've watched him, he has played awful against Seattle on the road, and I get it was raining. I get it was shit. Played shitty against Green Bay, and I get it raining. I get it. And Arizona being a, Southwest team, never used to that. I get it. Excuse me. And then I'm watching Minnesota. And then I watched yesterday. 4 instances I've watched this movie with Kyler. And he just, to me, I figured this out this morning. He's not the guy. Arizona, time to move on. You can't keep adding players around him. And it doesn't matter what you do. He's not it. He doesn't care enough. And it's showing me. He's never had to face adversity. I said this before. He always won in high school, was undefeated 46-0 or whatever the number was. He went to Oklahoma, didn't have any adversity there. So, again, he's fought through injuries. He's a tough guy. I get it. But I'm watching the body language that he has. He throws a pick. It's the same shit. I saw it with Jay Cutler. I'm seeing it with him. And a little bit of Aaron Rodgers fool in there. So you just can't win with this guy. He's not committed. He's too much video games. And you're going to be left, disappointed. And if I'm buying stock right now, I'm buying it to the other team, and I'll get to them in a second. But Arizona has got players. This is not a bad roster. This is pretty good. Now, I was thinking about this today. If you could have Seattle, Arizona's, which would you take? I would take Seattle's roster, but just put the quarterback on Seattle and Arizona, and I think they're pretty good. And then you kind of swap it. I think if Arizona had, a Geno Smith kind of guy, then why? Let's go. I think that's what they need to do. How much more, if I'm a fan of Arizona, do I need to go? Kyler, he's got it. I'm out, man. I've been out since he got drafted. The Dan Patrick interview pissed me off. I've gone into this numerous times. My dad thinks I'm nuts, but it's true. And I just don't think you can win with this guy. So, to recap that game, Kyler Murray, as gifted as he is, he reminds me of Bill Murray, difficult to deal with, kind of a pain in the ass, aloof. Aaron Rodgers kind of a little bit. Jay Cutler sitting by himself. That's what I see. Now, I want to flip over to the Carolina side. Bryce Young, we knew, number 1 overall pick a couple years ago in that C.J. Stroud class and all that. I'm impressed with Bryce Young right now. And listen, Carolina may suck. And listen, they're playing their ass off. I mean, they kept it close with the Chiefs. They, played the Eagles hard in Philly. Had it been not for Xavier Legette, one of the biggest country folk guy I know. Hi, man. Biggest country guy I know. The way he talks and all that. And he's a talent. He doesn't drop that ball, they win. And then they beat Kansas City. You're like, ooh, Carolina, okay. But they're playing hard. They're playing competitive last month. And they've been balling. Chuba Hubbard, Adam Thielen, they got players here. Derek Brown on defense. J.C. Horn, when he's elite player. When he's healthy, he can lock down your best receiver. When he's healthy, that's key. And I do think Dave Canales, the reason why he got this job, and I heard this throughout the offseason, and I agree with this, is he got Baker Mayfield to play elite. He did. Because, 23 last year, Baker's first year in Tampa, he got Baker to play elite. Now, Tampa Bay already had good players. They draft well, all that stuff, and I mentioned that on my Dallas Tampa Bay take. But you saw it. And then he gets to Carolina, and it's a little rocky early with Bryce Young, him not playing well. They bench him, go to Andy Dalton. Then, Andy Dalton gets in that car accident. God help him. I'm hoping he's doing okay. He gets a chance to kind of sit back, let it from afar, and then go play. And I'm telling you, man, Carolina's an interesting team to watch out for because I think when I said that a minute ago, if I'm buying stock, I'm buying Carolina because they got players. They got a quarterback that's likable, that's coachable to me, and again, I don't know if you win a Super Bowl with Bryce Young, but you got a starting point there. And he's been playing a lot better. He's playing his butt off. Keep building the offensive line, get more weapons around him, and you'll be okay. There's a momentum in Carolina, I feel like, and we'll see how they finish the season off. But you got to be encouraged by the Panthers, and I'm really mean this. So, just to recap, Arizona got to think about more in life after Kyler Murray. They got too much weapons for them to suck. And then Carolina, I think they're right there. I think if they just keep building the thing around Bryce Young, Dave Canales gets a little more comfortable with Bryce Young, they could be really good. So, that's all I have tonight. Hit the like, subscribe, share button on all my platforms of social media, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I'm going to be posting them there. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Safe travels. Talk to you guys soon. Love ya. Merry Christmas.